guys. So we are back for day 15, and this is the start of our fourth week of distance learning. So I know that we're by now, and a lot of you have been doing really well with your work, and which makes me super happy. We're going to spend the week going over some calculation concepts because I know that's something that we've struggled with in the past. We're going to start with decimals. And then probably spend most of the week on that and then move on to fractions if we can before the end of the week. Today we're going to start light. We're going to start with adding and subtracting with decimals. I'm going to go through some sample problems and then you guys will have some to try. Um, but here's the thing. So I know that you're not using a calculator. You are going to have a different type of assignment today where you're going to be showing your work on paper and then posting it. That you're going to take a picture and then post it to Google Classroom just so you guys are aware. All right, so let's get started. All right, so when we are adding and subtracting decimals, the most important thing that we need to remember is that we are lining up our place values. And what that means is that the ones place goes on top of the ones place, the tenths on top of the tenths, and so on. I kind of like to think about it as money. And that's why really we do a lot of these decimal operations is money. That's the most important thing where we're going to see decimals all the time. So as you guys can see down here, all the decimal points are lined up nicely on top of each other. And then these purple and red zero, well, now they're going to be red because I'm tracing over them, are placeholders. So if you have an empty spot, you're going to add some zeros. And then you just add and subtract as the normal. All right, so let's do an example. At a sport event, Luke scored 8 and 65 hundredths points, and Mel scored 9 and 2/10 points. How many more? That's going to be an important key phrase. Points did Mel score than Luke? So the first thing we need to think about here is, are we adding or subtracting? And in this case, we are, that phrase, how many more, is going to mean to subtract. How many more or how much greater or how much in between, that's always going to mean subtraction. So I would make a note of that for when you're doing your work later. Mel scored more points, so his value is going to go on top. And I'm going to put my other decimal point right below that. That way I already know where it's going to go. And then notice I have an extra space here, so I'm going to add that invisible zero. Oops. All right, and now we're going to subtract. I cannot do 0 minus 5, so this goes back to our elementary school borrowing skills. So I'm going to borrow from the 2. That becomes a 1. 10 minus 5 is going to be 5. Can't do 1 minus 6. So we're going to borrow from that 8. And then 11 minus 6 is 5. And then that decimal point, when you're adding and subtracting, always goes straight down. And then 8 minus 8 is 0. So, sentence that answers the question, Mel scored 55 hundredths more points. And then if this was a whole race statement, you would say this is because we know we're subtracting because it says how many more. If you subtract as shown, you would get 55 hundredths. All right, let's move on. At the start of the month, Kelly's plant was 8 and 625 thousandths inches tall. By the end of the month, the plant was 10 and 5/10 inches tall. How many inches did the plant grow? So this is kind of like how much taller, which is going to be how much more, which is going to be another subtraction problem. Okay, so we're going to start with the 10 and 5/10 on top because that's which one is more. And then I'm going to put my other decimal here, and then I'm even going to put my answer line with the decimal. That way they're all lined up already. 8 and 625 thousandths. So then in this case, I'm adding 2 placeholder zeros. All right, let's start subtracting. 10 minus 5. And then we have that double borrow situation here. 9 minus 2 is 7. Can't do 4 minus 6. We can't borrow from a 0. 1 becomes a 0. That becomes a 10. 10 becomes a 9. 14 minus 6 is 8. And then 9 minus 8 is 1. So the plant grew 1 in 875 thousandths inches. All right, let's keep going. Darnell adds 123.6 and 3.952. Which digit should be aligned with the 6 in the 123 and 6/10? All right, so if I put 123 and 6/10 on top, and then I add it to, I'm going to put my other decimal here, 3 and 952 thousandths. So this isn't even asking us to solve, it's just asking which digit should be aligned with the 6, which is going to be 9. All right, let's keep going. Tina jogged 2 and 3/10 miles on Friday and 8,500 miles on Sunday. How far did she jog both days? So this is going to be an addition problem because we're finding the total of both days. All right, so Tina jogged 2 and 3/10. And then I'm going to add my decimal here right below it and my answer decimal. That way everything's all aligned. And then 8,500. Add my placeholder 0. Nothing in 5 is still 5. 3 and 8 is 11. Carry that 1. 1 and 2 is 3. So she jogged 3 and 1,500 miles both days. All right, let's keep going. A triathlon consists of 3 and 8,600 kilometer swim, a 180 and 2,500 kilometer bike ride, and a 42 and 195 thousandths kilometer run. What is the total distance? A triathlon is just a 3-event athletic thing, which we have here, if you were wondering what a triathlon is. So we need to add all 3 of these numbers together because it says what is the total. So that's going to be addition. So we have 3 and 8,600. And then we're going to start by adding to the 180 and 2,500. And then we're going to add in that last one after. 6 and 5 is 11. 9 and 2 is 11. 4. So this is 184 and 1100. So that's for the first two. So we already have these two. And now we need to add in that 42 and 195 thousandths. Again, notice I'm lining up my decimal points. 4 and 2 is 6. 8 and 4 is 12. So the total distance is 226 and 305 thousandths kilometers. Again, always a sentence that answers the question. And that was a little trickier because that was 3, but you just add the first 2 and then add the third. Oh, I actually had that problem twice, I guess. Okay, a couple more. The United States population is 295.7 million people. This must have been a while ago because it's well over 300 million now. The population of New Zealand is 4 and 35 thousandths million people. How much greater? Again, so when we see those words, how much greater, that's going to mean subtraction. Again, always lining up my decimals and then adding in my zeros. So the US is 291 and 665 thousandths million more. Or that the population is that much greater. All right, last one. At the beginning of the month, Jerry had $173 in his checking account. So I'm just going to start with that. During the month, he added $26.40. And again, that's pretty clear cut. Literally says the word added. So we're going to add that on. Money's easy to deal with because the decimals are already aligned for us. 6 is 9, 7 and 2 is 9, and then 1 and nothing is 1. So when he added that $26.40, he now has $199.40. And then he took out 106.95. Took out is going to mean subtract. All right. Can't do 10 minus 0 minus 5, so borrowing. All right. So he had $92.65 left at the end of the month. If I subtract, so we're adding that 2640, we got 199.40, and then subtracting that 106.95 because it says we took that out. And then if you look at the model there, we would end up with 92 and 65 hundredths. All right, so that is the end. So now you guys are going to go answer those follow-up questions that are on Google Classroom with this assignment. You are going to answer them on paper, show the work, and you're going to take a picture of it, and then you're going to post it to Google Classroom. If you have any issues with that, you can email me. And then if I can't figure it out, I'll email the IT people. But for now, I will see you guys tomorrow for multiplication. All right, bye guys.